Hey, again. So, in the last videos, we talked about how to set up the game, what all is involved in that, selecting your factions, selecting your assists, selecting your class, um, and what that means. In my last video, we talked about the different types of attacks and how to execute them using the cards from your deck, using normal skill cards, the number system for the hyper skills, or the Zinio crystals to use your ultimate. So I thought I'd break down how the assist works and kind of just what all you're allowed to do during your turn. So give me a little bit of room here. Alrighty. So as I mentioned previously, when you're setting up, you and your opponent would be shuffling or whatever. You draw your two dice, or you roll your two dice. In this case, a 7, 5, and a 2. That would mean I would only be able to draw 7 cards. So you got a few SP cards, one crystal, 2 number cards, a 5 and a 2, orange and purple. So we're going to choose to throw these away, to mulligan them, and then draw 2 cards, hoping that there's something better. So we got another 5 and another normal skill. Okay, so let's say I won the roll at the beginning and I've opted to go second. My opponent would go do his turn or her turn. They would not be able to attack, so I don't have to worry about any damage from that. Now you could still use assist at any time, even if it's your first turn, so depending on what they selected, I may or may not receive damage. So now let's say it's my turn. It's the first turn of the game. My counter would be at 1. I would choose 3 cards from my deck. You draw 3 cards always in this game. So I drew a normal skill, a blue 5, and a 1. So you might say, well, what's the point? You may not be able to attack. Well, I have skill boost, which says it reduces the skill cost by 1, which means I would not need to have a third color for my 5s. I would be able to just use 2 and play that in combination of skill burst or skill boost. So I know for a fact I'm able to attack, but let's see what I could do now. So as I had mentioned, the normal skills would allow me to use my normal skill, hers being concentration. And what that says is concentration, it allows me to draw 1 card. So I would play that to my discard pile over here, and I would draw a card. I could play another one, concentration, draw a card, concentration, and draw a card. So I have this Zinio crystal in my hand. I could put that into play, and every time, because of my faction, every time that I put a crystal into play, I get to use its effect. So this says I get to draw 1 card from my deck. So I would draw that. So I have some number cards I can use. I have a backup crystal. Now, since I already have an orange, red in play, I can't double up on that. I would have to have this or keep this in my hand. And I have a few SP cards I can use. X charge will allow me to shuffle 3 cards back into my deck and draw 1. Skill boost, which we'll be using this turn to be able to attack with our 5s. And then a second X charge, and then a shield. So I'm going to go ahead and play down the shield in front of me. And now what that's going to do is anytime I would receive any sort of damage, whether it be from an assist, a skill, that's going to go ahead and eat that damage up. So, and then we'll just attack. We can't do anything else in our hand. I mean, we can, but we're going to leave these in here for now. Oh yeah, that's another thing. You could use an assist if you wanted to during your turn. So let's say I wanted to use Song of Support. Its effect says draw 2 cards and choose 1. So I'm going to choose the +2 defense. So I'll play that down. I'm going to draw 2. And I'm going to choose that +2 defense. So now I have an option. I have 3 number 1s of 3 different colors. I can choose to hyper skill using this, or I can use a skill boost and use my 5s. the skill boost again, reducing the cost of my skills by 1. Since we had talked about doing that, we're going to go ahead and do that. There's nothing else I could do or that I want to do. I've used my assist for the turn. I can't use 2. I've used any abilities that may be relevant. So I'm going to go ahead and use skill boost and then use 2. I'm going to use Fireball Hype. Fireball Hype would do 2 damage to my opponent, and then I would roll. And it said if any even numbers is there, then they would be burned, and then this marker would be put on them, this burn marker. So right there, that's what that looks like. And then my opponent would start his turn, or her turn. They would do whatever they're able to do. Now I have a shield, so if I were to get hit by any damage, I would not absorb that damage. Oh, the sleeve is actually broken. So that's that. Any kind of other things that they would use. So at the start of my second turn, I would move this up to 2 for my legendary counter, and I would draw 3. So I have another shield that I'll play down. And I have 1s. I have 3s too. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you X charge. Shuffle 3 cards from my discard pile into my deck. So I'm going to take these 2 5s and a normal skill. So shuffle 3 into my deck, and then I would draw 1 after they're all shuffled in. So these are shuffled in. I'd offer for my opponent to cut or tap, and then I would go ahead and draw 1, instead of being another skill boost. So I could either skill boost now again and use my 3s, since I'm lacking a third different color 3, or I could just go ahead and use a normal with 3 different colored 1s. We'll do that. So I would use Fireball Hype, and I would do another 2 damage, and then my opponent would actually be burned this time because it was a 6. So I would place that burn marker on them, and they would be burned. My third turn, I would draw. I got a 5 and a 4, and a 1. So I have these. I could still use a hyper skill because I could either use skill boost with the 3s or the 4s. So that would just go back and forth till either one person received 10 damage. That would end the round. So that's that. And that's using the card from your deck. You can use your different assists. Fun Party Surprise says I get to take 6 dice. Well, now it's 5 dice, sorry. Actually, it's 4 dice. I would take 4 dice, and I would roll them. And it says for every even number rolled, I get to recover 1 damage. And every odd number I roll, I get to do 1 damage. So I rolled 3 evens, 2, 4, and a 6. So I would recover any damage that I had, 3 damage. And I would do 1 point of damage from that odd number from that assist. So that's what you could do with assists. You can use 1 of them per turn. And that's that. Next, I'll break down the legendary mechanic and how that works. So thank you for watching.